And I'm filling in as the chair, due to their absent. Ben's not going to be able to make it, and so I'm just going to fill in and run us through the meeting. So we've got, our first action item is the approval of the August 7th meeting minutes. And I'll take a motion or discussion regarding those minutes.
Kobe Wilson, West Valley. I make a motion to approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Matt Cottonwood, I the second motion.
Great. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, we're going to turn some time over to Ben. We have a proposed amendment, some transportation improvement program business, and we'll let Ben discuss that at this point.
Perfect. Thank you, Dan, Mr. Chair. Thanks for filling in. Just for the record there, Ben White did let me know he wasn't going to be here, and I was in a meeting and I was unable to get a hold of Matt, who's online, but he was traveling elsewhere. But he's the vice chair, and so Dan was willing to step in. So thank you, Dan. So we've got a board modification before us today. It's a West Valley project. This project's on 3650 South, between 2700 West to 3200 West. This particular project, and I left all my details back. Anyway, this is a darn good project. No, so where it is, sorry, I just came from another meeting that shortchanged my opportunities here. This particular request is for an additional $1.25 million. The actual project cost exceeds the engineer's estimate by more than $3 million. And West Valley City is coming to the table with, help me with the amount, they're 1.75 million. They're requesting an additional 1.25 million of STP funds. You'll recall that this project runs on, goes from the mall, they're on 27th. So if you're going west, it's on the south side of the city hall. I don't even have my picture up to show you. South side of City Hall where UTA, it ties in the BRT, the city center, as well as maybe I'll just have West Valley explain the project and then I will step in.
No, Ben, you're doing a good job. Exactly. This is on 3650 South, Lancer Way, just south of City Hall. This is where the UTA's Mid-Valley Connector will end, basically as the terminus point in West Valley City at the West Valley City Bus Hub. So they're going to be doing some work with the Mid-Valley Connector there. This is a full depth reconstruction from 2700 West to 3200 West. So I think you did a good job, Ben.
Thank you. Any questions on this project?
Can you repeat the original amounts and the addition amounts?
Thank you.
WFRC, it's 1.25 million. From West Valley City, it is $1,668,176. So the total increase for the project value will be $2,918,176.
Kendall, will you tell them the original, what did we
The
have?
original project value was $8,049,600. So the grand total for this proposed change would make it $10,967,000, $776. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Kendall. That help, Alma? Thank you. Good question. I apologize.
Okay, if there's no questions, we'll entertain a motion or discussion.
I'll move to approve the addition amount as listed by staff.
Thank you, Alma.
Keith with Midvale, I'll second the motion.
Great. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. And any opposed? Okay, motion's unanimous.
Perfect.
Turn the time back to Ben to review some, the list of letters of intent that he has received.
Great. And these were printed last night, so they're ready. Thank you, Rosie. Rosie just put this also in the chat, so everyone online will have access. So as many of you are aware, last September, this past September, we requested letters of intent. Those letters of intent were due the early part of, well, the latter part of September. This information provides us the list of those letters of intent that were submitted for consideration. The way this table is laid out is they're sorted by county, project sponsor, the project name, a brief description of the project, then the estimated project cost, the funds being requested, and then the local match. And the far column is those programs in which they're considering to submit project evaluation concept reports. So there may be one or there may be more of the programs that are eligible. Where we go from here, or the intent of this list, is to provide you an opportunity to look and make sure that any letter of intent that you submitted or think you submitted, if it's not on this list, I don't have it. So we will need to touch base so that we've got all the information. Staff will then do a very high level eligibility on the projects that are submitted and then make recommendations as to what programs your project potentially has the greatest success to succeed. We may also recommend that you apply for more than one of the programs. Are there any questions on this letter of intent list? We intend to send this out to the elected officials as well. So if there's anything that we need to make sure is on this list, please let us know. Let me know.
Hey, Ben,
Yes.
this is Matt, Cottonwood Heights. When do you plan on submitting that to elected officials?
We'll probably be sending that out maybe early next week, Matt.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Ben. We'll now turn the time over to Chris Potter, UDOT, to lead us in a B and C roads discussion.
My name is Chris Potter. I'm with the Utah Department of Transportation, and I'm the local government programs engineer. So I've probably worked with a lot of you over the years with some of the different local government programs. One I want to talk today about is the Class B and C road program. And I've got a brief presentation. We'll kind of go do an overview of the program, and then I want to really open it up to questions for you guys, trying to answer some of the questions that you might have about the program. I do have a fact sheet that I'll send around, so you don't necessarily need to sit and take notes on this or something. Most of it's summarized in that fact sheet. So the Class B and C road program is the funding that most municipalities and counties primarily fund their road maintenance and construction with. The gas taxes, vehicle registration fees, and other funding, 70% of that goes to the state to maintain the state system, and then 30% goes to the local governments to maintain their local system. This program was established in 1937 by the Utah legislature. And over the years, there's been a few changes. There's a pretty significant change in the distribution formula in 1982. And then a big one that most people are aware of, but some of the rural areas still aren't, is in 1998, UDOT pivoted away from us going out and certifying the mileage with each municipality and county every year to it being self-certification. So what does that mean? It means that you need to update with UDOT your system whenever your mileage changes. And if you don't, then you're not going to be compensated for those miles. So it's pretty important that you do that on a regular basis. And that's going to depend on what your municipality or county is and how many roads you're building from year to year. So what is the definition of a BNC road? It's basically any public highway, road, or street that is claimed by a county or a city. And if you, there are a few instances where, for example, a lot of times a county will maintain a road within the city. That is allowable, but you just need to make sure that you have agreements in place when you do that. And the reason we want those agreements in place is so that we don't have situations where miles are being double counted. Last year, we had an audit done by the Utah Legislative Audit General. And one of the findings that they found, and it wasn't a huge error, but they did find an area in Salt Lake County where there are some unincorporated islands throughout the county. And there was some small segments of road that were being double counted by the county and then adjacent cities that butt up against that unincorporated area. And so for Salt Lake County, there was actually a bill this last legislative session. It's House Bill 330. And it's requiring the unincorporated islands in first-class counties, which in Utah, there's only Salt Lake County at this time. If those unincorporated islands do not incorporate into one of the cities that they're adjacent to, by July 1st, 2027, they'll automatically be annexed into the most populous bordering municipality. So be aware of that. That gives those unincorporated areas the opportunity to go maybe to the city they want instead of it going to the most populous one by default if they don't do it by July 1st, 2027. Okay. And so one of the things with the mileage submittal, you have to submit a mileage form that's on our website, and then a map showing the roads. And it needs to differentiate between the three roadway types being gravel, paved, or dirt. But we're also now asking that you submit any kind of roadway agreements as well, so that those can be reviewed and be on file. Because a lot of times it's amazing. Municipalities contact me all the time for their own information, their own maps from the last time they submitted. Because as people leave and stuff, those files get round filed and people don't know what their own roads are. And so they come to us. And so we're asking for those agreements as well for future audits, but also in the event that you guys lose them and need to know what your agreements are, we can provide them to you. So what is eligible, how, as far as what you can use this BNC money for, it's pretty open. As long as you can make a direct connection between maintenance and construction of roadways, then it's going to be fair game. I would caution you, if you're having a difficult time, it's a gray area and you're not sure if it's eligible or not, just play it safe. Most cities and counties are telling me that there's not enough BNC money to maintain their system and they're having to use general fund money or get bonds or other things to do that. So use that money for those gray areas, because I can give you my opinion on what I think it is, but what's going to matter is if an auditor comes in and audits, your books and what you spent the money on and disagrees with how you did it, their opinion is going to matter, not what I thought was important. So the money, you can take that money, you can accrue it in account, get interest and stuff like that. And as long as all funds going into that account and any proceeds, interest and things like that, go towards maintenance or construction of roads, then you're good to go. And then, if you're going to be doing any work on a UDOT road, a lot of the local governments, a state route is their main street. You can spend your own money on a UDOT road. You just need to coordinate with UDOT, the UDOT region director or district engineer, to make sure they're okay with what you're proposing on that state route. Okay, so we talked a little bit about the
Chris,
self-certification. Yes.
Chris, can I ask a question
Yes.
on that statement about a state route through your city? you can maintain it as long as you have agreement and coordination if that's necessary. Is that what I heard?
Well, I wasn't thinking so much about maintenance. I was thinking more along the lines, if you're gonna do any kind of a rehab, rehabilitation, adding sidewalks, any kind of infrastructure type stuff. I think UDOT's gonna maintain those state routes anyways. It wouldn't make sense for us to lift our plow truck at, the city limit and not
Right.
plow it through the city and then pick it back up. But, yeah, but we also, I don't think would complain if you're out cleaning out some of the catch basin grates and things like that too. So.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. So you can go to our website to get the information. We've actually got clear back to 2011. You can go find out what your current mileage is that you're claiming, as well as the distributions you received every 2 months, clear back to 2011. And that information periodically is, I get calls all the time where people want to know, what can I expect in BNC funds next year so I can build my budget off of that? And we don't provide that because the funds vary depending on how much gas is sold and stuff like that. But we put the data out there so you can go ahead and calculate it yourself and make those estimates. So if you just do a Google search for UDOT local government assistance, the top link in there will be the link to the local government assistance webpage, and the BNC information is right on top. And that's where the update submittal form is. It's got guidelines on it for the map that you need to submit along with that. And then don't forget any kind of roadway agreements that you enter into. And again, when you're updating your mileage, take every step necessary to make sure that miles aren't being double counted in the event of an annexation, incorporation, or other roadway type agreements. So the map, right now, the way it stands, the map, we require the map to be mailed to us in hard copy form. I will say if you can put a map on 11 by 17 sheet of paper that is legible, you can go ahead and email it to me. And that covers probably the majority, because there's so many small towns where that's feasible, but the big cities and of course counties, I don't have a plotter to plot those maps out. And so we need you to send those in, and they don't have to come in a rolled up tube. I'm just going to take them and fold them up anyways. So fold them, put them in a little mailer, and that's fine. I don't need you to spend a bunch of money on a big 4-foot long tube. Okay. And then the distributions, they're paid out. So there's six distributions a year. And from the deadline of the distribution, it usually takes 3 to 4 weeks for that to get processed and get paid through the Treasury Department. The one exception is the last distribution of the year, which ends June 30th. It's in line with the state fiscal year. That one takes about 2 months to get processed because they have to go through and do the fancy accounting and stuff to close out the entire program for the year and distribute any remaining funds. So there's some extra time involved with that. So every August, towards the end of August, I know it's construction season, you're paying contractors, and I get a bunch of phone calls saying, when's the distribution, going to come? When's it going to come? And it's not going to be till the latter part of August. This year, the Treasury Department was late, and we didn't get it till like the middle of September. So be aware of that. So as far as the allocation of funds, it's a really complicated formula, but it's really, the concept is pretty basic. It's 50% is allocated by population, and we get those population numbers annually from the Kem Gardner Institute at the University of Utah. And the other 50% is based off of roadway mileage. That's why it's important that you update your mileage with me so that it gets reflected in your distribution. And the gravel paved and dirt roads are paid differently. It costs more money, obviously, to maintain a paved road than a dirt road. So we'll take the mileage for a paved road that you give us, we'll multiply it by 5. For gravel and dirt roads, we multiply that by a factor of 2. And you may wonder, why do you break out gravel and dirt? Is that really necessary? The reason why we do is because prior to a couple years ago, dirt was not weighted at all. It was just a mile of dirt was a mile of dirt. Gravel was weighted by a factor of 2, and then paid by a factor of 5. I've chosen to keep them broken out because all it's going to take is the legislature to go in and say, you know what, we want to change that gravel to a 3 and dirt to a 1.5 or something like that. And then I have to get everyone across the state, which is around 300 municipalities, to update maybe by May 1st when a lot of these laws go into effect. So it's maybe a little bit more work for you to break it out, but it will save us in spades because every year they're tweaking the BNC program, it seems like. And one of these days, I'm guessing they're going to change that weighting. So that's just a kind of a basic example of how the calculation would look like. It's on the flyer. And then just last year, we updated the administrative rule R 926-3 for Class B and C road funds. If you haven't had a chance to look at that, you may want to look at it. It's not too long. It's like, I think 7 or 8 pages long. It's a good reference for you each year as you update, just to remind yourself of what the rules are and everything. So you don't send me something and we have to go back and forth multiple iterations to get it right. So, and then there's the two Utah codes, 72.3, 103, and 104 that govern for the city and county roads. So any questions on the BNC road program? I would just mention again that House Bill 330 for those unincorporated islands. A lot of them are out kind of in the sandy area, White City, out in those areas. If your city borders any of those or you're within the county, you might want to start taking a look at that now because otherwise they say it's automatically going to be done on July 1st, 2027, but somebody's going to have to do it, right? So, and I don't know who that somebody is because it's self-certification. UDOT's not going to go in and tell a city that this unincorporated area is now annexed into them. So, has anybody heard that? I'm just curious. So, okay, so you guys have heard it. You're aware of it. Okay, very good. Well, if there aren't any other questions, and as you dive into it, there's my contact information. Again, it's all over the website if you do UDOT, local government assistance, or Class B and C roads. You'll find my contact information at the bottom of those pages. So I want to thank Ben for the opportunity to come and present today, and thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Chris. We'll turn the time now to Michael Goldman to give us a UTA TDM annual report.
Hello, everybody. Thank you. And thank you for letting me come and talk for a minute about the UTA rideshare program. For those of you who've been here for a couple of years, all of this, the slides look probably very familiar with a few numbers changed. So I am Michael Goldman. I manage the rideshare and van pool programs for UTA. This is the same slide I've used over and over and over again. So go ahead and read that if you want on your own time. Basically, the services that we provide are van pool, commuter matching, and education. And I have a team of 11 people, and they are awesome. They make my job easy. So I just wanted to share with my team, we have 3 core principles in our program. And one of them is to reduce single occupancy vehicles. The other is to increase ridership. And the last one is written there, says be fiscal responsibility. That's a new term. I guess it's supposed to say something else, but it sounds cool, so I'm going to leave it. So I tell my team if they have any questions come up, if they can answer yes, that it's going to do all of those things, they don't need to come to me unless they're breaking the law. Then we need to chat first. So my team's does a lot of good work without me. Speaking of fiscal responsibility, this is the admin expenses snapshot from 2023. I'll just review the Salt Lake section of this. So our admin funds are close to $500,000 that qualify for the admin expenses. We received $263,000 from WFRC CMAQ funds. So we really appreciate that we've been funded by almost half of our admin costs in 2023. It does mean a lot to the program. And, oh, okay. So as far as, did I go past that? Hold on. Okay. So here are the benefits that come from our program, specifically the van pool. So in Salt Lake County, the vehicle miles traveled are reduced by over 6 million miles. So that's basically just a calculation of how many vehicles we got off the road. So it takes the mileage that we put on our vehicles per person minus the driver. So we've got quite a bit of vehicle miles reduced there. And that equates to just under 12 million tons of emissions reduced. So it's actually a really cool and highly effective program that we have. So over the years, during COVID, we dropped a little bit and stayed stagnant for a little bit, but we've seen significant growth in our program. So in 2019, before COVID, the most van pool groups we had was 432. And in 2023, we had 442. And then in 2024, this year, which this report's not 2024, but just so you know, we've the most van pool groups we had was in May of this year, and we had 452 groups. So we're increasing quite a bit in our program, and we're excited about the growth and to see the emission savings continue to increase. So in the Salt Lake area, we have 176 vehicles that were funded when I came into the program. And currently we have 207 vehicles operating in the Salt Lake County. And so you can see there's specific growth to Salt Lake County that's happening, including other growth throughout the state. So we're excited about that. And I think that's all I've got. So are there any questions?
I just make a comment. The operations funding that you talked about before is money that was programmed quite a long time ago and was just working its way through the program. And I think that's the last amount this year that we funded because we stopped asking for that quite a while back. We hadn't been asking for expansion vans either because we hadn't been expanding. But now that we are, that's one that we're considering submitting again this year, is to ask for some more expansion van pool vans. And so you'll see that on the letter of intent list and probably in a full application later on too.
Great question.
Like a plant question to me, but it is a great program and a great report. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
We'll now turn the microphone over to Matt Luker for an ITS annual report.
Just a second while I share my screen. Okay, can you see it?
We can see it.
Awesome. My name is Matt Luker. I'm the ITS program manager here at the Utah Department of Transportation. I took over for Tyler Lang back in May. Some of you may remember I worked with Tyler. He's still at UDOT. He's just moved to a different role. Want to start by sharing some of the growth we've had over the past few years in the number of signals and ITS devices. This is statewide, and you can see we average about anywhere between 3% and 6% growth per year. Cumulatively, over the past 6 years, we've grown about 27%. And here in the Salt Lake area, in UDOT Region 2, which includes Salt Lake, Summit, and Tooele counties, the growth hasn't been quite as fast. It's been about 18%. But I think that's because we have so many of devices here already. We're already relatively more built out than in other areas of the state. I'll talk about a couple of ITS and signals projects that are ongoing and that we recently completed. For the past 6 years or so, since 2018, we've been working to replace the analog CCTV cameras with digital CCTV cameras. The digital cameras have a much better image, so we can see things more clearly. It's particularly evident at night. They also allow us to be more efficient with the way we manage traffic on the network, the computer network. And they also are kind of what's available nowadays. The old analog cameras are no longer supported by the manufacturers. We have finished this all in Region 2. We're mostly done in the rest of the state. And this is for cameras on the UDOT roads. There are still some cameras, some old analog cameras on at locations that are not on UDOT roads, so the city intersections, for example. We have been working to deploy new VMS and upgrade old VMS, the variable message signs. This picture is a new one that is being integrated now. One of 3 approaching the Cottonwood Canyons. This one's on 6200 south at about 3200 east, heading eastbound. These signs will help us inform drivers of conditions in the canyons and let them make decisions before they go up and get stuck in snowy conditions or whatever. We've also upgraded 6 VMS on I-215 and 3 on I-80. The new VMS that we're installing or that we're upgrading to, the sign hardware itself is capable of more than just the kind of orange on black signs that you have seen around that you'll be familiar with. The new signs support full color, full matrix with graphics. We're not looking to make these into billboards, but we are hoping in the future, as we get the central software to support this functionality, that we can display messages that look more like traditional road signs. So a green background with white text or something like that. And our intent is to eventually get all of the VMS in the state upgraded to have that capability. We're always working to integrate traffic signals, bring them on the network. We build a lot of new signals. 2 examples this year are on Porter Rockwell Boulevard. This one at Freedom Point Way has a CCTV associated with it. Whenever we're adding new traffic signals to the UDOT roadway network, we're always connecting them to our ITS network. And we encourage the cities to do that, and we've been working with them to bring them onto the network. A lot of that work is done and has been funded by WFRC money in the past. A big project, if you've been around for a couple of years, you've probably heard about this. And I'm not sure if this is the last year we'll be talking about this either. This is our central ATMS software. We have been using the TransSuite software for about 20 years, and replacing it is a big undertaking. There's a lot of modules, a lot of pieces to it, and they work with each other in intricate ways. So we started the roll over from the TransSuite system to this new ART system back in July, and we're consistently moving functionality over. Those of you who have who use the cameras or any of the other ITS devices, in the next few weeks to months, we'll be reaching out to you to make sure that you have the new software and are trained on how to use it. But it's going to be an ongoing process for a while still till we get everything switched over. Now I want to talk about a couple of projects that we see on the horizon where we know ITS or signals will be involved. A big one is the proposed rebuild of I-15 from 4th South and Salt Lake City up through Farmington. That's still a couple of years out, but obviously when that happens, whatever form it takes, it will involve a lot of ITS devices and network equipment. There's also the project underway to construct new interchanges on Bangerter Highway. We're adding new CCTVs in those areas and other ITS infrastructure. And then the new section of Mountain View corridor that is being built right now between 2100 North and Lehigh down in Utah County up into Salt Lake County to connect at Porter Rockwell Boulevard. I have here contact information. That's really all I have to share today. Again, my name is Matt Luker, and I'm sorry that I wasn't able to be there with you in person. I have Brad Cameron from my group that is there in person, and then he and Andrea are project managers for ITS in Region 2. Happy to take any questions if anybody has any questions.
Okay. Well, thank you, Matt. That was a great report. We'll now get a Green Bike Annual Report from Stan Penfold.
Hello, everyone. My name is actually Cameron Ariano. I am the Operations Director. I'm filling in for Stan today for Green Bike. Green Bike is Utah's nonprofit bike share program. We are located both in Ogden and Salt Lake City, so I'm going to be focusing on just on Salt Lake City's today. I've been with Green Bike for 12 years now since inception. So if you guys have any questions after this, feel free to shoot them at me and I should have a decent response. So I'm just going to recap this year, what's going on. We're actually having an amazing year. Finally recovered from COVID. We're up 34% trips this year over last year. So yeah, we're really excited. We're having a really big year, and we're estimating that was by the end of the year, if we compare full year versus the previous year, we're hoping to be up around 50% over last year. So we're having a great year. We're adding 100 more e-bikes to the system. We just ordered them. We're hoping to have them in the system in the next 2 to 3 months. We're aiming to get the system about 95% electric bikes over the next 2 to 3 years. We're still going to keep some of, we call them acoustic bikes, some of the ones without the motors. We still have a demand. We have riders who really still want those kind of classic bikes. So we're going to still have a plan to keep some of those out for those riders. Right now we have 50 stations in Salt Lake City. We actually just installed a station up at 9th and 9th about a month ago, brand new. If you have a chance, if you're up there, check it out. It's a pretty cool station. We're in the process of adding 2 stations around the Salt Palace in the next couple months. We are, and what's really nice is with Salt Lake City building all this bike infrastructure going up, so we're really targeting stations close to existing bike infrastructure. That's kind of where we try to go. And then right now we're actually working on, we have some plans for some really big expansions next year, anywhere from 5 to 10 stations. And so we're working with Salt Lake City and UTA currently to find what are the best stations for first mile, last mile connections. That's really important for us. We work with UTA quite a bit, and we like to compare kind of our station numbers with their bus numbers and tracks numbers to see, where can we get the best first mile, last mile connections. Yeah, that's all I really have for today. Are there any questions? Yeah, for Green Bike. And again, these are the bike share program, not the scooters. We are not connected to the scooters in any way. We are the dock-based bike share program. All right. Well, short and sweet.
Okay, thank
Cool,
you.
Thanks.
Okay, Jared Bunch is now going to give us a Holiday City presentation on whatever's happening in Holiday City.
Is this a pointer? Oh. Does this move my slides? Okay. So my name is Jared Bunch. I'm the Public Services Director and City Engineer for the City of Holiday. I was asked to give a city presentation and asked to keep it 5 to 8 minutes, so I decided to make it about 3 minutes. So it's a little longer than that, but we have a lot of projects going on in Holiday, but I thought what might actually be interesting is how we were able to overcome some budget constraints to be able to actually build these projects, maintain our infrastructure. Let's see if this works. Oh, good. Okay, so a little bit about Holiday. We incorporated in 1999. It was part of Salt Lake County for all the many years before that. Our current population is about 35,000. In Holiday, we are mostly a residential city, and we are mostly built out with about 100 public miles of roadways. That would be centerline miles, not lane miles. But we do have a lot of infrastructure in the city. We have Big Cottonwood Creek that passes through our city, and we got a couple big canals owned and operated by Salt Lake City Public Utilities, and Holiday also owns a large canal, and it's called the Upper Canal. We have a lot of bridges that cross the creeks and these canals, totaling up to about 58. So when Holiday was incorporated, they based their revenues a lot on the sales tax generated from Big Cottonwood Mall, which is a big commercial center at the time there. And in the early 2000s, almost right after they incorporated, the mall started suffering from high vacancy rates. And by 2008, the owners of the mall actually closed. The city council lost a lot in their budgets in revenue, but they were very trepid about going out and increasing taxes to replace that revenue. So they started operating on a shoestring budget. And this shoestring budget lasted a decade or more, 15 years. I started working with the city of Holiday in 2018. I started as a contract position as their city engineer. And I started looking at, seeing what Holiday had, and I found out they pretty much had nothing for engineering and planning plans. So they had no stormwater master plan. They had no capital plan. They had no maintenance plan. They had no MS4 stormwater management program. And they really had no idea where their existing infrastructure was other than their roadways. They had some extremely poor GIS line work that was given to them from Salt Lake County. And if any of you guys have received that line work for your cities, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So it was starting from scratch. And the sad thing about it is because they had not invested into their infrastructure for a good 15 plus years, it was in a pretty poor shape. At least 31% of their roads were headed towards failure within the next 5 years. The storm drain system, we have a lot of, probably about 20% of our storm drain is corrugated metal pipe. And it had been put in the 70s, maybe the 80s, and it was corroding. You guys know the story. And it was collapsing. We were getting a lot of sinkholes. There were no capital plans for new storm drain projects either, which were badly needed. The bridges were deteriorating, a lot of spalling, and just concrete falling off. The traffic signals were aging, and we had no stormwater fee to help cover any of these costs for maintaining and operating these systems. So going over back to our pavement condition at this time in 2017, the county actually did a PCI index for us, and that's where I got the 31% of the roads were heading towards failure. We had 23 plus 8% there that were in the poor to very poor condition, PCIs of less than 55. Our city manager was definitely very aware of the issues here. So is our assistant city manager. And so we started working and developing on strategies to provide the city what it really needed, which is more funding. So we started to implement a turnaround strategy for this. So we started to prepare that capital plan. We started preparing a roadway maintenance plan. We prepared our stormwater management program to meet the MS4 requirements. And we hired a municipal financial advisor, which I noticed they are just right across the hallway from you guys, to help us budget what our needs were to be able to implement this capital plan and this roadway maintenance plan. And we knew that this would be a very big struggle for our city council to come up with the necessary money to pay for this infrastructure improvements. And so we also formed a citizen advisory group that we then presented, hey, these are all of our financial needs. Hey, we need $50 million for this capital plan. We need all this stuff. And as a citizen advisory group, we want you to help liaison with our city council and with the community. So we got volunteers from the community, we vetted them, and gave them all the work that we had done on these financial plans and that Lewis and Young had helped prepare the financial models for. And we said, okay, well, what do we do now? And so they worked for a good year on this, and they prepared a report that says, yeah, you guys definitely need this. If you don't take care of it now, it's just going to cost you way more money in the future. So it's a very good idea if you start implementing these plans and follow through with the budgeting that Lewis and Young had prepared for you guys. So in 2020, we also had Lewis Young prepare our stormwater fee study, and we continued with the Citizen Engagement Committee and helping them complete their tasks. In 2021, our city council accepted the recommendations from the Citizen Advisory Group, and they agreed to raise our property tax by 50%. Now, our property taxes were actually very low compared to the rest of the cities in the county. We were about 1/3 of the property tax rate of Salt Lake City. There were a couple cities that have a really high number of businesses that have retail, like Sandy. Sandy seemed to be able to keep their property taxes fairly low because I think they have a lot of sales tax revenue. Same with a few other cities, but for the most part, we didn't receive much tax revenue from sales tax, and our property tax was very low. So we went with a 50% property tax increase, and we actually received very little pushback from our citizens. And we also implemented a stormwater fee. So the next thing that we looked at, and also Lewis and Young helped us look at, was do we enter into it like a pay-as-you-go model, or do we bond it? And because we didn't have time to raise all the money for this infrastructure, we decided to bond. And also the interest rates were very low and favorable at that time. So we started collecting a stormwater fee in 2022, and we went out to the market and received an $18 million bond. This $18 million bond paid for, it was funded to do $6.8 million in roadway repairs, mostly in mill and overlays, $1 million for bridge rehabilitation, $0.2 million for building improvements, and $10 million for storm water. In 2022, we started using this money, and we completed $6 million in road overlays through the use of 3 contractors. We also mapped our storm drain system. So we actually knew where it was. We determined the materials, the size, the condition. We had to uncover 145 buried manholes, mostly in the asphalt that the county had paved over, and a few in backyards. And then with that information, we were able to start our master planning for our storm drain and our capital improvements there. So now that we had mapped out our storm drain, we hired, I was able to hire, well, I came on board full-time once we got our bonding money. So I became an employee of Holiday City as their public services director in 2022. And then I hired an assistant city engineer. And then in that year, we completed some additional overlays with that bond money. We completed one bridge rehabilitation and reconstructed our city hall entrance. And I hired 4 engineers to help us with our stormwater projects. And in 2024, which is where we're at right now, we've completed $850,000 in sunken curb gutter replacements throughout our city. We've completed storm drain projects, so $1.8 million project in our Meadowmore area, $800,000 project on Cottonwood Lane, $700,000 project on Hillsden, $700,000 project on Casto, $200,000 project on 2300 East, and $600,000 on various other projects. So just to clarify, our bond was for $18 million and they wanted us to spend it in 3 years. So right now to date, we've spent about 13 million of that. So by the end of the year, we'll spend almost 14 million of that. So in 2025, which this all needs to be completed in the first half of 2025, we're going to line about $2.5 million worth of our storm drain metal pipes. And then we've got another storm drain project worth $1 million in our Meadowmore area, phase 2, and we've got another bridge to replace and another bridge to redeck. So just real quick, this was our paving program in 2018. We repaved about 5 streets there. So $400,000 or something. In 2019, I still didn't have quite the budget I needed. We did a lot of chip seals and some slurry seals, some low cost stuff, a little bit more in road pavement. I worked with our neighbors to try and get a little bit more value out of some of our roads by repaving Island Drive and 30th East. So we only had to pay for half of those. And then 2020, just kind of continuing along, trying to get some more money, mostly with some low cost seals. And then 21, the same. And then here's where it goes from 2021 is our mill and overlays, which are the high cost items. So here we knocked out a tremendous amount of poor roadways and then 2023, even some more, and then 2024. So by 2024, we've repaved those 30% of those roadways that were headed towards failure. We are missing a few that we're waiting for some water mains to be replaced by Salt Lake City and Holiday Water before we go and repave them. So that's my presentation. It actually lasted longer than I thought. So happy to answer any questions from anyone. So if you guys need money in your cities, maybe follow our playbook here.
Jared, I have a comment. I'm Bill Baranowski. I live in Holiday City,
Okay.
and I saw my street on your map. And thank you for doing such a great job in our city. It's really made a big difference.
Thank you.
And I work for Salt Lake City, and they have tons of money. So it's just night and day between Holiday and big cities like Salt Lake. So I gotta, give you a hand for doing a good job.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jared. I'm assuming you've got great plans going forward to keep those roads in good condition. So excellent work. All right, we're going to go back to Ben, who's going to talk about the 2025 tax schedule.
All right, so what we got coming around right now is the schedule for our 2025 year worth of TAC meetings. If you look on that, the paper there should be a copy in the chat. For everyone online, you'll see our first meeting in next year is in January. It's on the 15th, kind of the middle of the month. Then most of the other meetings are on the last Wednesday of the month, with the exception of October, a year from now. And in August, there we've moved the August meeting from the end of July to the 1st of August so we can complete the public review and comment period for the tip. You may notice we did something a little different this year. We sent this out to you prior so that you could have the opportunity to compare your calendars there at your desk to see if there's any conflicting dates, trying to identify those days where we can get the greatest and the best participation from you. As a reminder, our meetings are all hybrid with the exception of our meeting in March. In February, you'll recall, for those who may be new and those who are returning, our February meeting is our roadshow meeting where we will review all of the projects. Kind of in a roadshow, we'll have the opportunity wherever you are to be able to sit and eat treats and then just watch those projects click by so that you have an understanding of what the projects are. And then in March, when we meet back together for the review recommendation from the staff and then the recommendation from the technical advisory committee of those projects that will move forward to TransCom and regional council. Are there any questions or are there any known dates of conflict that you're aware of? Okay, if not, if you'll turn it over then to the more important information, and that's those who are responsible for refreshments. As you can see, there's a city assigned to every one of our meetings except for March. WFRC will take March. But in January, Murray there will bring the treats, but along with bringing the refreshments, and we thank Holiday there for the presentation today and the refreshments. When your city has an appointment on here, you are to have a presentation, and that can be about projects that you're working on. It can be about significant work that's taken place in the city, just like Jared talked about today there in Holiday. So important, but also the lighter side of things, the tastier side of our meetings. Are there any questions on the 2025 schedule for our TAC meetings? It's proposed then that we have those meetings here. And we didn't identify where they were in Ogden Layton, we will, but any concerns, any comments? I guess, Mr. Chair, that's all.
Thank you. We now have an action item. We need to vote on a vice chair. And as I understand it, this is a 2-year commitment, 1 year as a vice chair and 1 year as a chair, correct? All right, so we will now take nominations. You can nominate yourself or your friend or soon to be unfriend. I don't know how that works. I nominate Kobe Wilson with West Valley City to be the vice chair. I asked him and he didn't seem to do anything to, I don't know, he didn't elbow me at all. So there's one that's out there. Do you accept that nomination, Kobe?
I thought me not looking at you was answer enough, but I guess I will accept that.
All right. And if certainly it can be, you know, if there's somebody else that wants to do it, that is volunteering themselves, we would take that opportunity as well. So hearing none, we have a nomination. Do I have somebody that would like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion. This is Bill from Salt Lake City. And since no one else has been nominated, that we vote on our new vice chair.
All right, we have a motion to put in Kobe Wilson with West Valley City as the vice chair for 2025. Is there a second?
Keith in Midvale, I'll second that motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, and any opposed? Kobe didn't even oppose, so thank you. Now, unless there's any need for other business, the next meeting will be January 15th. And Midvale City will be presenting and providing refreshments, but that doesn't jive with the Murray City, right? Okay, you're off the hook, Midvale.
I'll
Okay.
gladly defer to Trey. I'm sure he has much better baking skills than I do.
Great. We'll never turn away treats. So, okay, I believe we might need an action or a motion to adjourn, correct? Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Made a motion and I'll second it. And all in favor, say aye. 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 We are adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.